Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX deck. That is what we're opening up in today's video, and I gotta say, Pokemon Company nailed it with this product. This is the first ever level 3 league battle deck that they've released, and I gotta say, they have so many good cards in this box, which I'm gonna show you guys. We're gonna open it up, go through these one by one, talk about the cards, and also give you guys some recommendations to this deck if you want to upgrade it. But before I even get into this, just by looking at the back deck list that they include on the very back of the box right here, I can tell this is a competitive deck right out of the get-go. So if you were wanting to get into the Pokemon competitive card game outside of just collecting, this is definitely one of the best products I could recommend you. Now, the weird thing for this product is I'm not necessarily sure where you can buy it in certain markets. I did buy this in Target in Columbus, Ohio, when I went to the North American International Championships for Pokemon. So if you want to see what tournament vlogs are like, I've been to Vancouver Regionals, NEIC, and I go to my locals every single Friday pretty much and Monday night to compete. So if you want to see what that's like, that experience, I'll leave the playlist link down below for my tournament vlogs. But I will be using this deck and the Shadow Rider deck, if I can find it. There it is. The Shadow Rider deck right here, released alongside of it too. So if you have a friend you want to practice against, or you want to have two balanced decks that will fight each other, this is really good. I know for these decks, a lot of people like to buy them and then they'll buy sleeves and they'll just keep the deck vanilla, aka they won't add anything to it. So it's a very balanced battlefield. Oh yeah, and one thing before we get into the actual deck, we are doing a giveaway for the month of June for this Nintendo Switch Lite, the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl edition. If you want to enter, all you have to do is comment down below why you're watching this video and if you play the game or you just are a collector. I'd love to know, and hit that like button as well. Let's take a look at the Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX deck. The Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX League Battle deck. Again, this is a level 3 deck, and this is the very first level 3 deck Pokemon Company has ever released, which is very, very exciting. Here's a look at the back real quick. We're not going to read the little blurb that they have here, but if you want to pause the video, feel free to pause it and read it. And then there's also a deck list on the side, and it tells you this is Pokemon 898. Holy smokes, we're at 898 plus Pokemon. That is nutty. All right, so let's pop open this this product. And of course, if you guys want to see other deck reviews, I'll leave the link down below for my deck review playlist. We do a lot of deck reviews, so you might want to check out another one, maybe compare, and you guys can decide which deck might be the right one for you. So the major thing that separates this level 3 deck compared to other league battle decks is the fact that it includes 3 copies of the V card and 3 copies of the VMAX. In the past, they've only done, I believe, 2 and 2 for the Rapid Strike and Single Strike decks respectively, so this is a nice little upgrade. It makes it so you don't have to go and buy extra cards. You can just buy this product and you're good to go. Included is a rulebook right here, so if you want to learn how to play the card game, this is a great way to learn. But honestly, the best way to learn how to play the card game is by playing PTCGO or PTCG Live. You can literally play against bots, you can play against real people, you can play against your friends. It is a really great way to learn how to play. There's tutorials as well, and it's completely free to play. Best of all, if you buy this deck or any other deck or any booster packs, they always include this right here, a code card. And so, for example, this one will give you this exact deck in the online game, which is fantastic. So if you want to practice with the exact deck you just bought in person, maybe you don't have friends to play with at the moment, or you want to practice or test your deck out for improvement, then playing online with this deck is great. Also included are some nice little goodies. We have a poison counter right here, something we probably won't use because this deck doesn't really poison, but it's nice to have it. Then you also get a burn counter, and Ice Rider doesn't really burn Pokemon either, so do keep that in mind. You're probably not going to use these things. One thing you'll definitely use are these dice right here. I really like these dice. It is a nice theme to it, so if you are playing Ice Rider, you might want to use these dice. And they always include one see-through dice right here, and that's always for like the dice roll at the start of the game if you want to call heads or tails to decide who goes first. And there's a look at the die. It's like an aqua teal kind of color with white, so it's very easy to read. Also included is this little pamphlet right here, so let's just open this up and look at it briefly. It says how to upgrade your league battle deck. So Pokemon Company themselves will give you some ideas of cards you could add. So here's a bunch of them. They mention Suicune, which is makes a lot of sense. Crobat is a pretty standard card in a lot of decks. We got Ultra Ball, Scoop Up Net, and Fan of Waves. So all these cards are really practical for this deck, and they're not very expensive by any means. I think the most expensive expensive card out of all these would be the Suicune V or the Crobat, which go for maybe $3-4, something like that. And then on the very back, it has some more stuff here that you can read, and we're not going to read that. We're going to get right into the cards right here. First up, let's take a look at the main attacker. You have Ice Rider Calyrex V, and it has 2 attacks. We have Pierce and we have Glacial Lance. So we're not really going to be attacking with Ice Rider Calyrex V. He is really in the deck, or they're really in the deck, so we can play the VMAX copy. But let's just take a quick look at these 3 copies, and this is the copy that you can pull from the Chilling Reign set. Now there's also another version from the Elite Trainer Box promo, I believe, or a different version of Ice Rider Calyrex V. I'll have it up on screen, and I believe it's not as competitive, so you're going to want to stick to this one, and a lot of people do prefer to have the same copy of all 3 just for consistency. Next up, the main attacker, the star of the show, we have Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. This card right here is fantastic because it has 2 attacks, and these 2 attacks are very cheap in terms of energy cost. First up, you have Ride of the High King, which will be a 2 energy or 2 colorless energy, so any energies will work, for 10 damage plus 30 more damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So this attack does 160 damage base, but if you want to hit for 190, maybe 1 KO some Pokemon V, you can add the card like Choice Belt to the deck, and that will allow you to do 30 extra damage. So that could be what seals the deal in certain cases. And another way you can do extra damage with the attack Ride of the High King is by using the card Echoing Horn, which will place a Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench, therefore giving you another 30 damage. And you can even use that to then bench a Pokemon that you want to hit that could be a 2-prizer, and then you boss as orders that card to bring it up, say it's a Crobat, and now you can 1-hit KO a Pokemon they didn't even have on the bench at the start of your turn and get 2 prize cards. So really great attack, and it only costs 2 colorless, and you can combine that potentially with the double turbo energy as well. Just do keep in mind double turbo energy does reduce your attack damage by 20. And then the second attack right here is Max Lance, and Max Lance is 2 water energies for 10 damage. Once again, 10 damage plus, but you may discard up to 2 energy cards from this Pokemon, and if you do, this attack does 120 more damage for each card you discarded in this way. So you can hit for 130, or you can hit for 250, and 250 is enough to knock out pretty much all Pokemon V. But if you're fighting against those pesky Pokemon V stars that often have 270 to 280 HP, by slapping on a Choice Belt onto this Pokemon, you can actually hit for 280 just for the cost of 2 colorless energies, and you can combine that with other cards that we'll see later in this deck. So you can 1-hit KO the big boss V-Stars of your opponent for just 2 colorless with this VMAX Pokemon. Now it might hurt having to discard those 2 water energies, but at the end of the day, you can actually combine the discarded energy in your discard pile with other cards in your deck to really make this deck function really well. So because the ability of Max Lance, which discards your energy from the Pokemon, you can now combine that with cards like Melanie, which adds a discarded energy from your discard pile, puts it onto a Pokemon V, and you draw 3 cards. Or you can combine that with Palkia V-Star, which allows you to use the ability, I believe Star Portal, which puts up to 4 water energies from your discard pile onto your Pokemon in any way, so you can recycle the attack. So that's why this attack is quite good, even though there is a drawback with having to discard the energies. That's just to balance the attack, because 2 water energies is a really cheap attack for a big amount of output. Here is a look at the League Battle deck box, and just a heads up, you are going to want to sleeve these cards, so buy some sleeves. But once you do, you won't be able to use this deck box anymore, because this deck box was poorly designed, so it could only be used if you have no sleeves on your cards, which just why Pokemon? You know you're going to want to protect your cards. So now let's take a look at the other cards in the deck. Each deck is 60 cards exactly, so this will take up 6 slots, so we have 54 more cards to go through. So let's go through them and also talk about the certain combinations you can use in this deck, and hopefully we cannot damage all these cards. All right, so here we go. We have a water energy, water energy, water energy, water energy, water energy. That's 5 water energies. 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got 9 water energies in total, which isn't too much. However, I believe there are cards like Conspicuous Bucket you could play in this deck. Next up, we have Air Balloon, which is really good to retreat your Pokemon. So say your Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX is weak, you can put on the Air Balloon and it can retreat for free back to your bench. So you can use this on all your Pokemon to reduce their retreat cost by 2. So we have 1 copy, 2 copies of those. Next up, we have Boss's Orders, the Lysander version, and this is the non-holo deck exclusive. Now, this card is fantastic. It's one of the best cards in the game, and it allows you to bring up one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active slot, and you can now attack it or do whatever you want with it, maybe stall if you need to. And we have 3 copies of Boss's Orders. Very, very strong card. Next up, we have 2 copies of Marnie. This is a very standard card in a lot of decks. It is very disruptive. You and your opponent put your hands to the bottom of your deck, and then you draw 5 and they draw 4. So you get to mess up their hand potentially, and you can combine this card with Path to the Peak, which is a really good card to locking your opponent out of their deck from using abilities. So you could really put your opponent in a position where they can't do much with a Marnie Path combo, one of the most powerful combinations in the game. Next up, we have Professor's Research, which has 2 copies as well, and you can kind of combine this card with other cards in future turns like Melanie. If you want to discard water energy into your discard pile, that way you can Melanie in a future turn. And you can also use cards like Quick Ball and Ultra Ball on your water energy to make sure it's in the discard pile. So then you can then use Melanie, and then you can put 2 energies on in 1 turn, which is amazing because you can only attach 1 energy from your hand to your Pokemon per turn. So by using Melanie and using a Quick Ball Ultra Ball combo with the water energies, it allows you to get off some pretty nice plays. So we have 2 copies of Professor's Research. It is painful. You discard your hand and draw 7 cards, but usually it pays off because you get a full 7 new cards. 4 copies of Melanie. They really want to give you Melanie in this deck, and this is one of the best cards in the deck. So the only catch to using Melanie is you have to have a water energy in your discard. So without the water energy in your discard, Melanie is useless and unplayable. So make sure you got water energy in there. Shouldn't be too hard to do. So you got 4 copies of Melanie for consistency. Next up, we have 4 copies of Path to the Peak. Oh my gosh, this deck is really trying to disrupt your opponent. So by having vanilla attackers in a stance that don't have abilities, Path to the Peak really is a great way to stop your opponents from using their abilities. And it also is a great way to remove your opponent's stadiums, because sometimes those stadiums can be really beneficial for your opponent. Also, I believe this deck uses the Inteleon lineup, so basically all your trainer cards in your deck are searchable, which is really good for having a high skill ceiling deck because you can adapt your deck depending on the situation that the game presents. Evolution Incense, we got 3 copies of Evolution Incense. Evolution Incense says search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So you can search for cards like Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX and put it into your hand for free, or other cards that are evolved like Drizzile or the Inteleon line. Next up, we have Quick Ball. We got 4 copies of Quick Ball. Love to see it. Great for consistency. This card allows you to play the game, which is really important. You have to discard 1 card from your hand, but you get to add any basic Pokemon to your hand at that cost. So you could search for an Ice Rider Calyrex V or a Sobble or any basic Pokemon to get the game started. That way you can have the ideal setup on your side of the field. So you got 4 copies of that. 2 copies of Switch, a very standard card as well. Most decks run 1 to 2 copies. It's very simple. You just switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. 4 copies of Level Ball right here, and this allows you to search for any Pokemon with 90 HP or less, reveal it, and put it into your hands. So with that, you're able to search for cards like Sobble, which has 60 HP, like Drizzile, which has 90 HP, and it allows you to really be flexible. So you can get more bench support, you can get more Drizzile to search out what you want. We'll get into Drizzile lineup in a second. Next up, we have oh my gosh, I can't say the dang word. Conspicuous Bucket. So this card's fantastic. We have 3 copies, and it lets you put 2 water energies from your deck into your hand. Say you're struggling to find any energies in your deck, you can't draw into them. You can Drizzile and use the effect or ability Shady Dealings to now search for a trainer card, and that trainer card has now turned into 2 water energies. That's why this deck runs 9 energies, because you can use this to search them out. So it does help with consistency a lot. You got 3 copies. 3 is a lot. You could honestly take one of these out and maybe throw in like an Ultra Ball, because Ultra Ball is very versatile. It allows you to search for any Pokemon at all in your deck, but it costs 2 cards in your hand to use it. So a little more costly, but it does have a really strong effect. So we have Conspicuous Bucket with 3 copies. Next up, we have the Inteleon lineup. This is by far one of the most powerful like evolution lines in Pokemon history right here. So let's start off with the very beginning, the very baby version of Inteleon. We got Sobble. Okay, so Sobble, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of Sobble right here, and this card is great if you are attacking on their first turn because you're going to go second. We got Keep Calling. Keep Calling says search your deck for up to 3 basic Pokemon or Rapid Strike Pokemon. It has to be Rapid Strike, so you cannot search for Ice Rider. It has to be just other copies of Sobble. and they go onto your bench and your turn ends because that's your attack. So you can Sobble, attack, and then now you have a bench full of Sobbles that can now evolve into Drizzile the following turn. So for example, if you were to draw into a Drizzile or play it the next turn, you can now search for any trainer card you want with the Shady Dealings ability, which is amazing. Or if you draw into an Evolution Incense, which is basically another copy of Drizzile, or a Level Ball, which is another copy of Drizzile because it's 90 HP or less, you have a lot of consistency in this deck, which is fantastic. So 4 copies of Sobble, boom, right there. All right, next up, we got 4 copies of Drizzile. You do not want to change this. The 4 copies is amazing. The 4 copies of Sobble is amazing as well. You're not going to be attacking with these other cards. Ice Rider will be your main attacker, but Drizzile has the effect Shady Dealings. So when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may search your deck for a trainer card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. That is one of the most powerful abilities in the game, and that's why so many decks use this Inteleon engine. That's what it's called, the Inteleon engine, because it allows for flexibility to search for what you want in your deck and adapt to the game as it continues. It also has the attack Water Drip, which you're never going to use. Last but not least, Inteleon and Inteleon Rapid Strike. So first off, let's talk about Inteleon, since it's very close to the Drizzile right here. These are both from the Sword and Shield base set. So this copy of Inteleon has 160 HP and the effect Shady Dealings, just like Shady Dealings Drizzile right here. However, Drizzile only lets you get 1 trainer card, Inteleon lets you get 2, which is amazing. This is great because you can now recycle your Inteleon lineup. You can use Shady Dealings to search for a Scoop Up Net, which they didn't include in this deck, but they recommended it, and another trainer card that you want, so you can get exactly what you want in your deck, and now you can pick up your Inteleon lineup again, and then play Sobble again, and then Drizzile in the future turn. Not only does it have the Shady Dealings effect, it also has Aqua Bullet attack. For 1 water and 1 colorless energy, you can do 120 damage and also ping 20 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. This is great if one of your opponent's Pokemon ran away from you and is hiding on the bench. You can snipe that extra 20 damage, and that could be what seals the deal. It also could be what lines you up for a perfect attack in a future turn. There's also pesky cards like Miltank out there, which prevent Pokemon Vs from attacking you. So Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX and Vs cannot attack Miltank. However, Inteleon is going to be your way to attack into those pesky Miltanks. 2 copies of this Inteleon in this deck, and then you also have 2 copies of the other Inteleon, the Rapid Strike variation. And this version you might attack with, maybe not, but honestly, you play it for the effect Quick Shooting, which says once during your turn, you may put 2 damage counters onto one of your opponent's Pokemon. So you could have 2 Inteleons on your bench and ping twice. That's really nice. You could have Inteleon and then use the ability Quick Shooting, and then you Scoop Up Net to put it back into your hand, and then you can evolve this Drizzile into the Inteleon again and ping once again. So you're using Quick Shooting twice in 1 turn with the same Inteleon, which is amazing. If you want to upgrade the Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX deck, some really great upgrades you can make would be including the Scoop Up Net, an Ultra Ball, maybe a Crobat. You can also add Starmie to the deck, which is really great, and Palkia V-Star are also some other great options. If you like this video, make sure you check out the Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX box opening if you want to see what this deck is like. And if you've already seen that, then check out another Pokemon deck review in my playlist or a Pokemon tournament vlog. And of course, make sure you guys enter the giveaway for this Nintendo Switch. Just comment down below telling me why you watched this video and hit that like button as well.